How's it going, everyone? We are back from a break last week, but we're here with the pipeline. I'm your host, Joey. I'm joined by Tom, Andre, and Don, and we're going to discuss the news of the week, kind of, because we're also going to talk very briefly about last week's Nintendo Direct, because we missed last week's episode, basically because we were working on content from that Direct. A lot of content and some Kong tent from Donkey Kong Country Returns
like
HD.
it.
That's right. Yeah, so we just let's just give our very brief Nintendo Direct thoughts. We have a whole discussion on that I wasn't a part of, but don't worry, I also have a whole Metroid Prime 4 discussion on that as well. But so go over very briefly, was this a great Direct? Don, what do you think?
Yeah, it was far more than I expected it would be.
Yeah, gosh.
I mean, ahead of time, I didn't have much expectations to be honest, but we got so much more than I really thought we would.
Yeah, I think if you see our direct predictions, which we'll also go over in a bit, so most of us were pretty much like, it's going to be about a 7, maybe. And then it turned out to be like, I don't know, a 9 out of 10. But it was a really good direct. Andre, what do you think?
Objectively, a great direct. Subjectively, a very good direct.
Yeah, really. Tom.
Great for the end of a generation, and it wasn't entirely remasterful.
Right, that was kind of shocking a little bit, but what can you do? So now let's get into what we talked about before in the pipeline. We had a bet. I think I don't know if it was the week before the Direct or the week before that, but we were gonna guess when the Direct was going to be. We had the calendar right here. Tris predicted that it was going to be Thursday, June 13th, which did not happen. We were all wrong, basically.
And this was before the Among Us blog
The Among
post
Us
that was
leak.
taken down.
Yes,
It'll be impressive we got it all wrong after the leak.
Yes, exactly. So
Just actively ignore what's going on.
but the closest one to get it right was Don. So Don, you win the prize of little jazz hands. Yay! Good job, Don.
Shout out to the Super Monkey Ball review. Then I'll do that.
Yes, go watch his Super Monkey Ball. Is it Banana Rumble?
Banana Rumble, yes.
Okay, I always forget the names of them. So
My banana.
Quickly, this was before, I'm in Canada, so I didn't know what the new holiday in the States when I was putting this together too. So if the holiday was there, Don probably wouldn't have got it. Or he would have shifted it to the right day.
very true. I don't feel like Nintendo Directs happen on Tuesdays that often. So this was kind of a surprise.
Anymore.
Yeah, so and we also came up with a list of games from our Nintendo Direct predictions that we all predicted. We put them all into a list. Do you have the list, Tom?
No, I don't.
Once again, we were all wrong, kind of. So
we got some things right, even with their broad predictions.
right, so here's the thing.
Use the old one. That's the old graphic, Tom. It's making us look worse.
Hold on.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna
hold
scroll up
on.
the screen, but yeah, I forgot to update it for
Here,
myself.
I've
I
actually
updated
got
it
it
for
here.
everyone else, but not me, the important one.
Oh my gosh, Tom, how dare you? So there's a little thing that we're missing here on this image. There we go. Metroid Prime 4 teas. So we were a little bit right. So let's look at this list. Looking at our June Direct predictions. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 did not happen yet. Metroid Prime 4 tease did happen. And yeah, it was still a tease, but it was thankfully a much more detailed tease with gameplay.
The robust tease, yeah.
Yeah, enough for me to make a 20-something minute analysis on. So,
Oh, you could have done that regardless.
oh, and you were right. A brand new Mario Party. Duh. I'm totally missing it on the list.
No, to be fair, there were the code names released before then, so we kind of saw it coming. But I think we predicted it anyway because it felt like it was time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so and the Cube seems on a yearly game cycle at this stage and point in their careers.
That's right. Seriously. So, and then the F-Zero GX Remaster did not happen. I am shocked there was no new Kirby game or even Kirby Air Ride. Yeah. That was a surprise. Mario Baseball, once again, dead in the water. It's time to give up on the dream, Andre. It's time to give up on the dream.
I will never give up on this dream. I have a dream, Joey, and it's that we will get Mario Baseball again one day.
Hey man,
One day.
I'm just pointing out, I was hoping that the Wii one would still release a year after it came out in America.
Oh, rough. That's rough, buddy. Anyway, new Donkey Kong, which there is a Donkey Kong not exactly a new one, but
it's got HD in the title now, Joey. So
That's right.
really new. Yeah.
I guess you're right there. And we cut these two ones just because we can't have it all in a Nintendo Direct. A Kid Icarus Uprising remaster didn't happen anyway, and a Link Between Worlds remaster. Here's the thing about that. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, our good friend Matthew made a video about how it basically uses the same overworld as A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. Kind of. There's some changes there. So we'll give us that one. We were that right.
I think if you look at it, so we were half right with Metroid Prime 4. I'm gonna round down with the full point. We predicted Metroid Prime 4 teas. We got Mario Party bang on, so that's 2 points so far. New Donkey Kong, not quite, so it gets half a point. And then since we're adding in A Link Between Worlds as well as a half, I think as another half point. That's what? I already lost track. Is that 3 points total? 3 points? Okay, yeah, there we go. 3 points out of 6. We got it half right. That is my loose math for how right we were.
And yes, Alan is in the chat, and guess what? It's Alan's birthday today, so everyone say happy birthday to Alan.
Happy birthday, Alan.
Yes,
now, I want to point out quickly too, like with Metroid Prime Remaster, everyone thought that would be remastered for so long.
Yeah.
And then, like, finally it came out after everyone gave up on it. Now, with this, we could see Metroid Prime 2 and 3 later.
Yes.
We will probably get, like, we'll get a new Kirby at some point. We all know that. But the new Donkey Kong game, that's probably just being held for Switch 2. Same with Kid Icarus Uprising. So.
Right. Exactly. So
1000%. This is a good bridge, a good intro for people, especially with how it ties in thematically to the new Donkey Kong expansion, Universal Studios Orlando, because that is based on Donkey Kong Country Returns specifically with all the Tiki enemies. So
I mean, it should be coming out sometime in the fall in Japan, so we should be seeing some stuff on that at least.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
pretty
right.
soon. We would have seen it by now if it hadn't been delayed, but.
I mean, hopefully it will be open when I'm in Japan by then.
That'd be good.
That would be good, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So since we're on the subject of the new Donkey Kong game, should we transition over to that story, Tom?
No.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Tom just shot you
I
down.
have
Just put that up.
I have a Best Buy thing.
Yeah, that's what I put in there. It doesn't even have an image, even though the box art is real. So look at this blasphemy. $60 for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. What's going on? What is this? This is blasphemy. And when Metroid Prime Remastered is $40 and it has so much more effort put into it, what is this? Capitalism? It is. So here's the thing. I saw a lot of people cause a stir over this pricing, which I understand because as a video that Andre made states, there's a lot of graphical features missing from Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. So I get that there's a lot of disappointment surrounding this full $60 price tag. Yeah. However, I understand from a business perspective why this is, because people are going to buy Donkey Kong anyway, because Donkey Kong makes a lot of money, such as the rest of the Mario franchise. What are our thoughts on this exactly?
I love Donkey Kong. I very much like Donkey Kong Country Returns. I'm a bigger fan of Tropical Freeze, but Donkey Kong Country Returns is still a great game. This is overpriced, though. The problem I have with this is not only is it an old game, although I think that's largely irrelevant, it's not adding anything new. The only thing that's new here is that it's in HD, which is a free bonus if you emulate the game anyway. So this is adding almost nothing beyond the 3DS exclusive content, but in that respect, you're losing the stereoscopic 3D. So it's not a straight up objective upgrade. Like in some way, in at least one aspect, it is a downgrade. And I think it doesn't, for me, it's hard to justify that price for an old game that's adding nothing new, even if the game is still great, when you also have other examples like, as you already touched on, Metroid Prime Remastered, which was basically a full-on visual remake available for only for a third less. And I just don't understand the math here. Now, in a business sense, what Nintendo's always going to do is they're going to charge as much as they think they can get away with. And I think it's unfortunate that we perhaps have enabled this where they think they can get away with this, because I feel like this is definitely overpriced for what it is. Maybe if it came with Tropical Freeze, that'd be a better justification. But without anything brand new here, it's like you could probably just play the Wii version and squint to make it look better.
Yeah, I'm with you there, especially because like the video you made, there's so there's also so many things missing from this version. Like, yeah, the game is still 6 months out, 7 months out,
Right,
but it could be fixed. But honestly, I don't have much faith, especially who's developing it. Also,
Forever Entertainment.
yeah.
Thank you.
so-
Which apparently aren't that renowned for the remaster. Sorry, Tom. 1 second. Just one more thing here. Yeah, if they're for $60, it better have all those effects. Like at the bare minimum, it better meet the visual quality of the original. And part of the reason why the game looks so good originally was because of all that added detail they add. Like, yeah, you may not notice a single effect missing, but over time, you know, like you add up all the missing effects, like you know, that may amount to something. And you know. Again, there's still 6 months worth of development, but knowing Nintendo, there is a good chance that this game is already locked and done, right? Nintendo is often sat on games for months and releasing when it's convenient for them. So we don't even know if there truly is time left.
Yeah. At maximum, they also need to print the game on cartridges. So at maximum, there's about 2 months or something left.
Right. But also, to be fully fair, we don't know how old this build is. It could have been, you know, a trailer made a couple months ago. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping the best for it. What were we going to say, Tom?
You go
for this. It could be like for new players, it kind of makes sense. They did add in the 3DS levels, but for someone like me who bought the Wii one before and comparing it to the price of Metroid Prime Remastered, like I can't. And an interesting thing that maybe I'll save for later is like if they did this with, let's say, the original Donkey Kong Country and it was transitioned from 2D to 3D, maybe, but not with something that's, you know, already in 3D in my mind and missing effects.
But isn't Donkey Kong Country already in 3D, Tom? Technically?
The sprites are pre-rendered, but you know.
I know what you mean.
I think what bothers me the most about it is that it feels less visually impressive without the loss of 3D on the 3DS, and then maybe less of the effects, and then being more expensive than the initial 3DS price.
Hold on, I feel like I should have just done this.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a topical freeze, but yeah.
Well, speaking of which, though, I mean, Tropical Freeze, I believe, is still that same price, and between the two, that for me is the superior game, and so that's why I do feel like Nintendo. This may be a misfire by Nintendo because. I mean, for me, if I were in Nintendo shoes right now, I would think my bigger goal would be. I mean, DK is a moderately sized brand, but I would want to get it in front of as many people as possible. And I think releasing it at a lower lower price, especially in the tail end of the Switch's life cycle, especially to appeal to people who may not have had played Tropical Freeze. I just don't understand the logic because if I'm going to spend if I don't have either game. That money is better spent on Tropical Freeze, and I think it would have been a good gesture, a gesture of good faith too, to have released it at $40. So
what you're saying is to justify this price, it needs a new funky mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
It also really comes down to me that I have a bit unease when it comes to Forever Entertainment, which also have done Panzer Dragoon and House of the Dead, which also had both of its fair share of issues. Which they fixed eventually, but it wasn't directly at launch.
With that House of the Dead that they worked in it, was that the cause of that kind of rumor? Is that the developer behind it was working on this? Like, is that how we were thinking like House of the Dead might be at the Direct?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. They were both completely separate from each other, but still.
Yeah. So basically, if you're like us and have problems with the price tag of this game, simply don't buy it. And instead, go buy Metroid Prime Remastered if you haven't already. Let Nintendo know what to put their effort into. Use the power of your wallet. Use the power of capitalism to tell Nintendo, hey, we want high effort remasters and not this schlock you're putting out. So
I want to go back to Pipeline special guest HPR Shredder saying it should be 30 bones tops.
Bones?
Bones.
Well, it's like Mina the Hollower currency, but
true.
Do you think if it was that price, would we be all like, this is awesome?
Yes,
kind
of. Yeah. I'd still have a problem with the missing effects, but I wouldn't be like, I don't know, as mad, I guess. I'd still expect them to be fixed.
I think so than anything else. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but hey, it's $30.
Nintendo's pricing is just so freaking weird. I think you have a feature about this, Joey, coming up.
Yep,
but like
I do.
Thinking back to the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake, which is a full-on visual remake. $50. That's cheaper, despite them putting more effort in than this brand new than this HD remaster of a Wii game. And like nothing, I just don't understand the consistency here. Their best remaster is one of the cheapest. I don't get it. I mean, in some respects, I do get it because they want to bring more people to Metroid, but at the same time, I feel like DK would benefit in the same way too. But I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. If they announce that this game gets delayed, I'm just kind of going to be like, "Yay!" That means they're going to fix the stuff, hopefully. But we'll see. Like I said, they have time. They have time to fix all.
They're still working on it. They should have time. Yeah,
they should.
It's a January release too, which is
January 2025. It's a 2025 game, which means it's coming to Switch 2. I'm just kidding.
I think it's like January 19th or something.
Yeah,
Whoa.
so we got a new super chat from J. Rare Bear. Thank you so much. I'm right in the corner here, saying only about 10% of Wii U owners and about 3% of all Switch owners bought Tropical Freeze. For all of the controversy around Returns HD, most Nintendo fans aren't supporting Donkey Kong anyway.
That's my point, actually. That's what I mean, yes, thank you for the super chat, by the way, and good point. I mean, I think that's why if I were Nintendo, I would want to try and expand the DK brand, even if it costs me, in terms of total revenue generated. Like, I think that's a more important thing. I think it's better to build a stronger base for DK moving forward than it is to capitalize on as much money as you can in the short term.
That's true. I didn't know about those numbers. That's crazy.
Tropical Freeze deserves better, darn it. That game is so freaking good. And it kind of feels like Nintendo's taking DK fans for a ride. It's like, you like DK? Well, if you want the newest version, you better pay $60,
You know what would like make me roll in my grave if Donkey Kong 64 was like remastered and like that was way more popular.
Oh man!
Honestly, I actually could see that game, whether a remaster or like visual remake type thing, that could be big. Even though I don't think it's a great game, there's so much nostalgia for it. Yeah. I think giving it some kind of attention would be huge. So
isn't weird that my main takeaway from this entire discussion? Hey, I should download Tropical Freeze again and just play that again.
Good. Yes, that's
good.
The one lesson to take away from this whole direct discussion we're talking about.
That's amazing. All right, what's this? I'm already rolling in my grave. Tom says, "Kiss my flapjack." Alan says, "I say we all get Rareware tattoos in solidarity." There's so many comments.
Illumina brings in some more concrete numbers with Tropical Freeze selling 2 million on Wii U and a little over double that on Switch at 4.5.
Not bad. It's not bad. Not bad at all.
Actually, it's better than I thought it was for Switch. It deserves better still, but.
Yeah, you got to understand. 3% of Switch owners is a big number.
It's a big right because a amount of Switch owners is a huge amount.
I mean, contrast that makes the Mario Kart number even more insane when you think that more than at least 60% own a copy of Mario Kart.
It's insane.
Real quick, not to belabor the point too much, but like again, comparing to Tropical Freeze, it's weird to me to charge the same price for games that aren't equivalent experiences. Like just because one was designed with HD in mind, the other wasn't, and I think one builds on the other, and it's just a better game, even if the predecessor is great. But I think charging the same price for it is kind of like sending the wrong message. Yes, Jazzy Days. 100%. Thank you.
Tropical Freeze just sold 1 billion copies. 1 billion. There's not even 1 billion Switch owners. But yes. Any final thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
Is that another remaster?
Every game deserves a funky mode.
The funky mode.
There should be DLC levels for Tropical Freeze.
There should be. Yes. All right. Let's move on to this little story about what is this? Solo Yasmin Remaster Original Donkey Kong Country Trilogy. I mean, sometimes it's good to not touch a perfect thing.
That's also true. Yeah.
Yes. All right. I'm gonna go to the Go Nintendo article. Tom, let's go to that because it's wild. It is wild. All right, so this is an old story, right? The man arrested for making bomb and murder threats against Nintendo employees. This was insane. They had to cancel plans for multiple Nintendo Live events due to this. But somebody's been arrested, and he's given a reason for why he did this. Let's scroll down a little bit, Tom, because
he rage quit. He got upset at Splatoon 3.
Pretty much. He said, "The more I lost in Splatoon 3, the more frustrated I would become." The prosecution is seeking a 1-year prison sentence and claimed that Nintendo suffered 700 million yen in damages. I just love how he's just so upfront about it. He's just like, I'm going to be honest, guys. I was just really mad. So...
if you put the bomb threats aside, like it's almost understandable, right? Like, Splatoon 3 is infuriating.
That's insane. It's just amazing. This update came out last night, and I'm just like, okay, we need to talk about this on Pipeline because, like, yeah, Joey Albert makes a good point. That's not very booyah of him, not at all. Yeah,
or Woomy.
yes. Do we have any thoughts on this at all? Because it's just
Iwata warned of this. In Iwata's book, he talks about what his problem with online multiplayer games is that you make one person happy and everyone else you're playing against upset. If you win, everyone else who didn't win is upset about it. And look what it led to. So Iwata was right once again.
Iwata, stop being right. He can't keep getting away with it.
I think my main takeaway is that I feel more so bad for the people who qualified for all those tournaments in the year before that, like at Seattle and at Gamescom and have you.
Yeah.
And then getting a ticket to say, hey, you get to go to Japan and participate in Nintendo Live there. And then literally the month before, that all got canceled on them and they played through for nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
if those people, I think for those people, I think it irritates me the most. It's more so that this guy is just an idiot who just got upset about a video game.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
This shows that it's kind of like road rage. Everyone has a different level they're willing to take things, and why you almost have to be careful out there in the world with who you might get mad at, because there's always someone taking it to another level. And with this, it's just, I don't know where you get in your head to do this sort of thing. And it kind of shows the pressure on developers sometimes when there are people that make threats against them for making what is, a very good game.
I got a death threat when I worked at GameSpot for my Modern Warfare guide. I made a guide on how to find all the hidden chests or hidden suitcases
Intel.
or briefcases. Hell yeah, in each level, and some dude couldn't figure out how to find it based on my guide, which I don't know. Maybe my guide sucked. I don't know. In any case, he threatened horrible things against me and my family, and that was I largely thought it was just some idiot blowing off, but still it makes you it does make you a little worried. It's could this be one of those guys who actually does mean what he says and will back it up,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I'm glad that Nintendo ultimately took the action that they did, which was to not host the event where there may have been this threat or not. But it sucks that it came to that point that this guy was so upset at losing his Splatoon 3 and whatever else that he felt like he had to lash out at others, whether or not there was meaning behind those words.
Ultimately, you just needed to get good.
Oh, God, he's gonna be looking at you in his jail cell, shaking his fist.
Damn you, Don!
700 million yen is still a huge amount of money, but it's not quite as big.
4.3
it's
million
4.3 million US.
I mean, I was gonna say, going off the current exchange rate, that's not bad, right?
I mean,
really
it's likely the majority of everything they had planned for Nintendo Live, if you count within that 4.3 million.
Yeah, and what was he? Is it a year in jail?
Just a year, yeah.
Just a year, yeah.
That's getting off pretty easy, So I don't know if I don't know if it's in the article or not. If they assessed he was really not actually a threat or what, or that factored in. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm sure.
To be fair, Japan has almost a guaranteed rate of being convicted, so that's also something to do with it. They're more interested earlier in taking a plea deal.
Yeah, I know if something goes to trial in Japan, you're basically guaranteed to be screwed. Because they usually don't bring a case unless they have good evidence. And then you're done. So
yeah, I don't know. They probably used a mental illness plea or something. I'm not sure, but yeah. Yeah, but at the end,
Your Honor, my client is simply not good at gaming. Please understand.
Please understand.
Your Honor, you'll find that my
client
is Crub.
Do lawyers in Japan still have a southern drawl? Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Your Honor.
Real quick, just because it's slightly related, I'm curious how chat feels about losing a Splatoon 3, because I feel overall I'm pretty even keeled when it comes to gaming. I play a game called Dead by Daylight, as I've said before. A whole horror based game where the goal is to not die, and you often do die. And I'm totally cool in that game. You throw me a Splatoon 3, and I get infuriated like instantly. Is it just me, or do people also get like unusually upset at Splatoon 3?
Not
Like
really.
not to the point of making bomb threats, obviously, but like
I'm-
to the point where like I just can't play that game anymore.
As somebody who plays through every season and is close to finishing the last one, I never get really that upset about Splatoon.
Okay, all right.
I'm so used to losing at Splatoon, it's not even funny. So I'm just like, whatever.
I think it's something about that game where like there's just no downtime. You have to go constantly.
Okay.
That's what heightens everything.
I think there's one exception to me not being angry at Splatoon. If you force me to play Clam Blitz, that's when I get
That
angry.
does it?
I don't like Clam Blitz at all.
Wonder why. It has a little sport-like game in there, so maybe that's part of it.
Not really. I like sport. I just don't like it in that game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. There's a Q&A that Nintendo had recently at their annual meeting.
Oh no,
All right,
Joey!
I froze.
He's
I could
back.
tell.
We're good.
I could tell when I freeze. I could tell when I freeze. All y'all just freeze too, and I'm just like, oh god. Now I gotta repeat what I said. All right. So there's a few things. Stop it, Tom. You really scared me there. All right. There's a few things I want to highlight from the Q&A. It was a pretty tame Q&A. It wasn't anything like mind blowing in it, but here, covered by VGC, Miyamoto discusses passing the baton to even younger developers. He even said, Alan says, Joey Ferris, tropical freeze. That's right, I froze tropically. All right. Anyway, back to this. There was a Twitter user, N Styles, who posted everything from the Q&A, but VGC, I guess, also translated things a little better than Twitter translation did. So basically, Miyamoto was asked about passing the baton to younger developers. He says, I appreciate your concern. Being the oldest among us now makes me feel a bit anxious.
Among us.
Among us. I was thinking that too when I did the news update. This game is giving me serious brain rot. However, I am comfortable working within the company. While I am not completely disconnected from game development, I am no longer involved in the day-to-day work and leave it to the younger generation. The transition is going well, but even those I handed this over to are getting older. Dang. So I want to pass the baton to even younger people. And then, drumroll please, I'm still closely involved with Pikmin Bloom, so I hope you'll continue to support it.
Why Pikmin Bloom? Of all the games, Miyamoto, Pikmin Bloom's your final one, really?
It's your legacy. It's what he's going to leave us generation with. But yeah, he's going to be 72 years old in November. He's still at Nintendo, but like he said, he's now involved in the day-to-day work. I really wonder what he even does at that office anymore when he goes in. Does he just walk around and analyze games? Yeah. In recent years, though, he's also been doing this stuff. He's stepped away from hands-on game development and co-producing the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and is also producing that Zelda movie as well. The most recent games he's been known to be more heavily involved in are Pikmin Bloom. Okay, we know that. Star Fox Zero, Mario Run, and Luigi's Mansion 2. Okay, so yeah, what do we think of this? Miyamoto even said...
The final things you just said make a strong case for him not being involved in games.
Yes.
I'm kidding. And we'll get more into Luigi's Mansion 2 specifically later. I mean, for me personally, I think, on the one, it's bittersweet. I mean, on the one hand, like some of my favorite games are Miyamoto games, of course, and I'm sure he's had influence in ways that none of us will, can fully ever know. Because, he'll often chip into a game, give his input into a game that I'm sure has led to, greater experiences that we may never fully be aware of. On the other hand, though, I think I actually, while I would love to play more Miyamoto-based games, like I think now as we, get later into his life, life stage, like I actually appreciate he's doing different new things, the movies, the theme parks, and I think that actually is more important than rather than just making more games until the end of time or whatever. I actually think it's more important for him to kind of accept this next stage of Nintendo, and he's doing a great job at it. Like the theme park is a renowned success. The movie was huge, of course, and there's more to come. So, and actually, those have been some of my favorite experiences, the movie in particular, of recent Nintendo products. So I'm excited for whatever Miyamoto wants to focus on, really is more my point at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a quote about retirement down there, Tom, that I didn't see, but
Let's see.
that's what I was wondering, because he's 72 years old. Retirement age is 60 generally, at least that's what I've heard from other Japanese game developers like Sakurai who've said that. But he seems to be kind of what happened.
Oh, I'm doing a control.
There we go.
Control F.
Yeah, and then in an interview with The Guardian published earlier this year, Miyamoto discussed his plans for the future, stating, "More so than retiring, I'm thinking about the day I fall over." What does that mean?
Okay.
Are you?
If it helps, I just looked up the average life expectancy of males in Japan, and I believe it's 81 years old. So he still has, at a minimum, I hope, 9 years, and that's the average. So meaning people live longer than that, of course, to make that the average. So he could, hopefully he's gonna be around for another 50 years.
Exactly. Yeah. There's an island off the coast of Japan, I think, where people live like over 100 years because they're like so healthy.
I forget if that's Okinawa or a different one, because Okinawa is like slightly different lifestyle. With this though, with Miyamoto, like somebody asked me, like, if you could ask Miyamoto one question, like, what would it be? And I said, do you still have one IP, like new game IP left in you? And the thing is, though, he's done so many games, he's revolutionized it so many times that Mr. Miyamoto can work on whatever he wants, and he's like, with movies and theme parks being successful with that, it's great to see like new challenges at such an older age still going. It's kind of amazing if you think about it. And I was thinking though, like Aonuma already getting old, then that's why they're showing like the next person as well with him for Zelda. And so it's good they think about this, because I do think about it too.
I think most of the general producers at Nintendo are getting up in age, like Tezuka and I forget the guy who was responsible for Animal Crossing and Splatoon.
I forgot his name too.
Gumi, something like that. But those are also getting up there in age, and I wonder if like the directors currently on, say, Mario Wonder or say Splatoon are solely getting into those roles specifically later down the line now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good, we got Metroid Dread before Sakamoto retires. So.
Oh my gosh, Sakamoto, that man's getting old too. Yeah. So it's just like, that's
I think Sakamoto is reaching that age very soon, where you should think about it.
The retirement age.
Yeah.
Which, again, I want to stress how insane it is that we have all these legacy developers still at the same company, still making or contributing to new games or products. Like, that's freaking awesome. And it's so cool that we live in this era now. Like, literally my entire life, this has been the case. And that's just mind-blowing to me. Of course, it's not always going to be the case, which is sad, whether retirement or something else. But it's something we can appreciate now. And of course, I hope too, and I'm sure they are, that they're passing down their knowledge to the younger developers so they can carry on those legacies, because few companies understand gaming, the core of gaming, the game essence, if you will, as well as Nintendo does. So that's something I hope that isn't lost in these transitions.
Yeah. But it's important to know that once Miyamoto goes, I think that's just the beginning. I think we will see a major transition over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and we will see a lot more Nintendo games with loot boxes. I'm just kidding.
You got to show it. I was going to say quickly, in North America, we kind of lose that because they get burnt out, or they get let go by game companies.
Move to different studios, start their own projects. Yeah.
Warren Spector is like a rare example of someone like in the same kind of age still working.
For sure.
Really. I mean, there's Gabe Newell, but what's he doing? Steam Deck too? But we got a super chat from Iggy Garcia. Sorry it took me so long to get to your comment. I've got something for you guys to talk about once you're done covering your topics. Have you heard about the Miiverse invading Twitter/X? Yes.
Yes.
I've seen it. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there's just a bunch of people posting images of the react in response to things they like seeing on Twitter. So it's really cool.
Specifically because likes are now hidden, right? So that's the idea for the
Correct. Yes.
So you can publicly show you like something. And shout out to my friend John, who made a 3D model of the I think I retweeted it. So if you're on my Twitter profile, you can scroll down and find it. Really cool 3D model, and it's fun to see the resurgence of Miiverse, and I secretly hope that it's a feature, if not in name, for the Switch 2. Like, it really does feel like Nintendo dropped Miiverse at the worst possible time. Like, why were they surprised that a social network launched their most biggest failure of a console ever wasn't a success? Maybe they should have stuck with it a little bit longer, but I think they were so allergic to anything surrounding the Wii brand that they just tried to bury it, for the Switch. So
I think the most fun part is then people making custom buttons with their own icons or anything else.
Yeah.
It's fun to see.
That's really cool. I really like
Yeah.
seeing that too. The children yearn for Miiverse. Let's be real. They yearn
The
for
children
it.
don't even know what Miiverse is, Joey.
They don't. But they know. But they yearn for it. They just don't know what it is. That's the
Fair
thing.
enough. Fair enough.
Now,
Yes.
now with Twitter support gone, bring it back.
Exactly. Now's the
Exactly.
time. We need Miiverse more than ever.
All right. Let's move on to another question from the Q&A. Tom, just
Okay.
surprised me. I think that
Which-
and Styles one.
Here we go.
All right. So this question came from the Q&A stating, regarding the lengthy development period for game software, I understand that the expressiveness of games has improved and it is taking time, but Mario Wonder was the first 2D Mario game in 11 years. It is important to have software that appeals to elementary and junior high school students. I appreciate the once-in-a-decade measures, but I hope they continue to release software on a consistent basis. To which Nintendo replied, if we scroll down here, or is that an image?
I'm gonna grab the thing from Go Nintendo, but basically they pointed out that while Mario Wonder was 11 years, there was like Mario Maker and stuff in the meantime.
Right. Totally. Yeah. It's not like they worked on Mario Wonder for 11 straight years, you know?
I wish. That would be amazing. Can you imagine how good that game would be?
Oh, man. Yeah, just as long development time as Duke Nukem Forever. We all know how that turned out.
You know,
But-
take it. So go ahead, Joey.
I was just going to say, like, they basically responded saying that they're investing in development resources to pretty much ensure that their software is put out on a regular basis. But, you know, with new technology, it's inevitable that game development becomes more complicated, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, they're going to answer that by hiring more developers. And, you know, Nintendo, my thought process is, like, even if Nintendo, like, their games take longer, like with the next generation, I don't think they'll still be taking as long as games take on PS5 and Series X. Like, they'll still be relatively shorter because, you know, they don't really have, like, I think, Andre, you brought this up before, like, Nintendo games don't really have much in the way of voice acting, and their graphics are more or less more simplified comparatively. So, yeah, that's basically it on that front. But what were you going to say?
More than taking it at a broad level, and I'm sure people can point to instances where I've been hypocritical in this sense, but I don't hate having these large gaps at times in game series, like, you know, because in that 11 years, as you mentioned, we still had other we had other Mario games, 3D Mario spin-offs, you know, Mario Maker 2, and, you know, I don't like this endless train of games in the same series that barely evolve. We saw this before with New Super Mario Brothers, 4 barely changed games that basically burned me out of plenty of others, I think, on 2D Mario in general, until Mario Maker acted as kind of like a refresh in a way, and then eventually Mario Wonder. And you know, and the thing is too, as Nintendo gets more and more and more series and franchises, they've kind of slowed down their expansion with the Switch. I feel like, you know, they only have so many people, so many teams. They can only release so many games. You're not going to be able to get a brand new installment in every series whenever you want it. You know, there's going to have to be these lulls. Now, sometimes those lulls go on a little excessively long, like with F-Zero, for instance. But yeah, I think, you know, I'm fine with them taking breaks to maybe focus on something new or revisiting an older series that they hadn't in a while. So
I think it helps too that Nintendo is, you know, they still just put out a ton of games frequently, unlike other developers, because Nintendo's just in a different league as a developer / publisher. It's not like other game developers, like, I don't know, Naughty Dog, for example. It's just like they don't like they still haven't put out a game yet, and it's been 4 years. But like Nintendo is just like they have multiple teams, lots of different kinds of teams, and yeah, they keep us occupied pretty much. And I think that helps me as well deal with the long gaps between certain franchise releases. Except Metroid, give that to me now. But yeah,
I mean, it also really helps that they are purely, for the most part, a game company. Like,
yes.
even like, if you look at Microsoft and Sony, they have their foot in so many different pieces of the pie, where Nintendo is solely focused on video games.
Yeah, I think even Reggie brought that up in one of his old E3 presentations. I think it was 2004. He said, one of these companies wants you to buy their DVDs and their DVD players. Another one wants you to buy, like, your Microsoft Excel or something like that. It was something to that extent. But we're in it for the games purely, and that you could totally see why. Like, it shows.
Yeah, they're not a technology company. They're not a a hardware business first. They're solely a video game developer that accidentally makes hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And theme parks.
And theme parks now.
Theme parks.
Yeah, it's like even if they're still dipping their toes in other mediums like theme parks and movies, they're still a game company at heart, and they're using those other platforms to keep selling their games first and foremost.
Yeah.
Did I misspeak, or did the article say something about Mario Wonder being 11 years old? Did I say something like that? Did I see the chat going off on?
I think somebody's.
No, it was still an 11-year gap.
No, it took an 11-year gap.
Speaking of gaps, Joey, between Metroid Prime 3 and announcement was 10 years. Between the announcement and now the game coming out next year is 8 years.
Yeah, that's insane, right? 18 years I've been waiting for a new Prime game, and people are complaining that this game looks too much like a Prime game, and I'm like, that's what I wanted for that long. All right, but there is a comment. What do you want to see most in Prime 4 Beyond, and why? Come check out my discussion on the matter. I could go all day on this, but that might be its own feature on its own later on in the future, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But thank you for asking. All right, there was one more question I want to cover from the Q&A. Where could that be? I think Nintendo Everything is the one that posted it, Tom. It's on your right here on the tab. Okay. Talking about Nintendo handling leakers. Handling them.
I think this is it.
There we go.
Manhandling them.
Yeah, by the throat. Nintendo says it's taking various measures to prevent leaks. They've basically, the answer they gave, if you scroll down a bit, Tom, they have the translation from N Styles. The question states, regarding information security measures, Kadokawa was recently attacked and was unable to broadcast Nintendo Direct on Nico Nico live broadcasting, which was news to me. There was also a story about an insider leaking information on YouTube. That was many years ago, back during the Wii U era, I believe. I reported on that story. I would like to know what kind of investments you are making and what measures you have in place regarding information security. To which they answered, we have become aware of the specific issues pointed out through media reports and other sources. We work with specialist companies to diagnose information security and take other various measures. The company has introduced information security management as part of its internal information security system and is also working on continuous education for employees. And I'd like to think that education is, if you give anyone else information, you will be fired. Yeah, that's insane. And this all comes fresh after PRO got cooked and gave up his source. So, yeah, very interesting stuff. Any thoughts on this? It sounds like the answer is not like, I don't know.
It's protocol. That's standard.
Yeah.
That's a standard.
Yeah, standard.
It just sounds like standard protocol.
Yeah, they may be doing more, but I don't think there's anything about this answer that explicitly suggests they're doing anything more than they had before. Not that they aren't. It's just that I feel like this answer is almost like a non-issue. It's only relevant because of the recent Piro comments, which is kind of interesting in that sense, just given what played out there and the fact that he seemingly gave up the fact that he had a source at Nintendo or at NCL, so Nintendo in Japan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just seems like business as usual, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're still, like, I don't know, maybe tightening things up a little bit more after that incident. I could be wrong, but
no, you're definitely not wrong there. In fact, I do know, like, from what I've heard myself, that this direct in particular, they were really tied on to a degree that they haven't been before, which is interesting. So it does seem like they are tightening some things up, at least on the American side. I can't speak for NCL, even though I'm pretty sure that was a NCL directive.
I mean, PRO,
that stuff is always an NCL directive,
right?
Yeah, and right before the direct happened, that bird tweeted one of his last tweets. Set your
sounds like his final words.
Yeah, so keep your expectations in check, and then it turned out to be a banger of a direct. So
it said no heavy hitters.
That quote never gets old now. Like, it's even funnier now that we know Metroid Prime 4 is still
I want to give more shout out to the one shareholder who asked, "Hey, what about Nintendo soundtracks on streaming platforms?"
Oh yeah, somebody did ask about that. Yeah, and I think they gave another non-answer, just like
they said, "We are aware of our interest in our music. We think music is necessary for IP expansion, so we'd like to use it in a way that makes people happy." You don't
that was
say.
It.
Yeah,
you know, makes people happy. Claiming every video that uses that music, people love that.
They very much love that. It's insane. But yeah, was there any other questions from this Q&A that stood out to anyone, or shall we move on?
These are the main ones. And with the leakers, Nintendo will always crack down on new ways that it gets leaked, and leakers will become more advanced and find new ways to leak it, or just guess and get it right, and people think they're a leaker. So
Apparently, so during the Q&A, somebody asked about new IP, and they gave a non-answer. And apparently, Shinji Takahashi was having a big smile on his face while Metroid Prime 4 Beyond was shown on screen.
That's right. This has been haunting Takahashi for almost a decade now, this game. So just the fact that sees gameplay of it is just like, finally, now Joey can stop harassing me on LinkedIn messages.
Yeah, you can stop sending in those bomb threats, Joey.
Yes, I have, for once. All right. But speaking of Metroid Prime 4 and other upcoming games, let's move on to the next topic. There's this top 10 list of sorts. I forget who posted it. Tom, let's go to that
it
thing.
was Christopher Dring from
Game Industry.
Game
Top 10 wish-listed games, May 30th to June 23rd from IGN Playlist Data. Let's look at this list. Number 1 is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which is really cool. And from the rest of this list, there's Doom the Dark Ages, Astrobot, Gears of War E-Day, which is not going to come out for many years, Perfect Dark on Xbox, Mario and Luigi Brothership, also recently announced at the showcase, Assassin's Creed Shadows, this game I've never heard of, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Fable from Xbox, and 10, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So that just goes to show Metroid Prime 4 is a dead franchise. I'm just kidding. But it makes sense, right? That game's not coming out for a while. But the really interesting list, I don't know why I'm surprised Echoes of Wisdom is number 1, because I think I just forget how big of a franchise Zelda is. And this is the first time we're actually playing as Zelda in like a non-CDI game / spin-off. So what do we think of this list, everybody?
I think the top three are all bangers.
Bangers.
Yeah.
Certified bangers.
I still need to watch that Astrobot trailer, so I need to
You
check
should.
that.
It looks really good. Yeah. It's lots of Xbox games on here too, especially after that showcase, which makes
Fable
sense.
looked really good in that showcase, to be fair.
I need
And
to
it's
watch
also
that. Trailer.
from Playground, who make good games.
They do make good games. They certainly do.
I don't know how meaningful this data actually is, whether it corresponds to sales or not, but assuming it does, I feel like Metroid Prime 4 is a little distressingly low. Like, you have this game that's been hyped for 7 years now. They finally show off gameplay of it, and it's only number 10 below Perfect Dark, which, already seemed to have, at least in my experience, seemed to have kind of a mixed reaction. I liked what I saw, but it didn't seem to, blow everyone away. And to come in, lower than every other Nintendo game on this list, too, it's a little surprising. And maybe it shouldn't be, because Metroid has historically not been great, but I think what that tells me is that there's nothing. No, sorry, not great, but I mean great in terms of sales,
relatively.
And and I think that what that shows, that at least as of now, they haven't shown enough of that game to really excite people outside of the fan base. And maybe that's a concern. Maybe it's not. Maybe they'll show plenty more in the future that will. Or maybe Nintendo doesn't care. Maybe they're like, we're going to sell to the Metroid Prime fans, and that's all we care about,
So, it's interesting. When you made my discussion about the Metroid Prime 4 trailer live, there's a lot of negative comments on that video stating that trailer was actually disappointing. And I'm just like, okay, I've heard this opinion before, but not to this serious amount. But it's just as for me, as personally a Metroid fan, it was that trailer, maybe on its own, sure. Maybe if that was the second or third trailer we've seen of this game, it would be disappointing. But this is the first time we're seeing that game in 7 years. And the fact that it was just straight up gameplay almost the entire time was just enough for me. And that's going to hold me over for the next few months whenever we see that game again. But there's been a lot of people stating it just looked like more of the same, which is an argument I still don't understand. Of course, I want the Prime series to be consistent in that regard. But yeah, we didn't see much new. And it was a lot of just space shooting, not exactly what Metroid Prime is known for. There was that segment in Prime 3 with all the, the Halo shooties and whatnot, but that trailer was focused on that. It revealed who the villain was, but yeah, the thing is, it was a first trailer, and I will not be surprised if future trailers show off some of the new tech that Samus is going to deal with, the new areas that she'll be able to explore. Basically, this game just started its advertising campaign, and we're going to see a lot more of it in the future. And maybe that's why it's only number 10 on this list, because of the lack of stuff they showed in it. But again, we're going to see more of this game in the future. I just hope they don't show us too much like they showed us with Metroid Dread. Literally, oh my god, those Dread reports were way too much.
Hey, they should bring back the Wii channel from pre-launch from Metroid Prime Free Corruption, where they release trailers every other week.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I didn't know they did that. That's wild.
Well, everybody quickly uploaded them to YouTube anyway, but it was a very nice idea.
Maybe with
sorry, go ahead.
I
thought this was related,
That
but it might not
Odyssey from a few days ago with that dinosaur. I lost my mind after that was revealed. I'm so hyped.
Is he a time traveler?
I know, right?
That was hype. That was absolutely hype. So
I forgot who said it in the chat, but regarding like Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's funny it's on the list because Ubisoft have almost conditioned their audience to wait for a sale.
Yeah, really though.
Even with Mario and Rabbids, but that dinosaur one is a point. Like we didn't see the dinosaur in the Metroid Prime 4 trailer,
right? That's all it needed.
If it has dinosaurs, that's an instant end.
There might be time travel, but the metaphorical dinosaur, we still need to see that to get hyped. And the Metroid Prime remaster, I think, took some of the wind out of the sails of
It's kind of strange, Tom. To a degree, I think you are right. Metroid Prime Remaster looks so good that for as good as Metroid Prime 4 looks, it's not like a quantum leap over what we've already seen, you know? And again, it could just be because they haven't shown all that much, and the final game will end up looking, even better in the new areas we see, which I'm sure, because we've seen so little of this game. It is interesting. I do think this trailer was made more for the fans at this point. Just be like, hey, it's real. We haven't screwed it up. We promised.
Right.
And, hopefully the second trailer will be the one that really kind of like shows what they're doing different and new here.
Right.
Go ahead, Don.
No, I was going to bring something else up. What I find weird about the top 10 is that Perfect Dark is in there, but not Indiana Jones.
That is weird, isn't it? Yeah,
I don't.
This is an interesting list, really. Gears of War E-Day is kind of surprising because they showed zero gameplay, but also the fan reaction was insane. I know because I'm a fan and I had an insane reaction to it. But yeah, it is an interesting list. I'm surprised Fable was even on here, to be honest, because just a lot of people seem to be reacting to this game negatively, but they're the bad people we don't talk about anyway. So,
and seeing Mario and Luigi there is a great thing, like that's a franchise.
For sure.
Yeah, it shows it still has a lot of gas left in the tank. So
we have there's a good question in the chat, and I think as we're harping on a little from Johnny and Denny. When are we getting a new direct? Maybe September? Do we think there's even gonna be a September direct? Because I don't know. After watching that direct, it kind of makes me feel like the Switch 2 update that's been promised to us before the fiscal year is not going to be this year. Because Nintendo has so much going for them this holiday that I don't even know what their plans are.
It's also telling that they're not going to be. They're pretty sure not coming to PAX West either. But I'm also not sure that they're not coming to Gamescom. So it's weird. If they had more to show, then you would schedule stuff just beyond that time to show even more to people.
Yeah, you're right.
I think the marketing is really strapped back for the remainder of this year, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in kind of like an almost unprecedented situation with Nintendo, at least in modern days, where they don't need to actively promote their next system yet because their current one's still doing so well.
Yeah,
and the holidays are always the biggest time of year for Nintendo, and maybe there's a fear that. And it may not just be this year being the only factor, but showing off the system before the holidays could affect sales this holiday. So it would make sense to hold off on showing the Switch 2 as until the same year it launches in, which it may not launch until possibly the end of next year. There is a chance it doesn't even launch next year. We only know for sure that they're announcing it by March of next year, which probably means I would think it is launching by the end of that year, but it may not be within the first half of the year. I think it could be late
I'm
release
not
again.
Sure what it means. For all we know, they could do another partner showcase in September and just hold off for the remainder of the year.
Right.
Or they, in that October time slot, they just said, here's the Switch 2, and now is the build-up. You don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, unless there is a Switch 2 tie to it, I can't see another direct really happening, a full direct, because there's not even that. We basically had their schedule. There is room for a smaller title or two still, or even a bigger title, but I imagine a smaller title or two, possibly the Metroid Prime ports, but those could be just part of a mini direct or part of a just Twitter drop, so
Yeah, it's interesting. I really am curious to see what how these next few months will play out, because who's to say what's going to happen, right? I think it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I do think it would not behoove Nintendo to announce the Switch 2 this year before this holiday season. But there's an argument to be made. If the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, then like who cares? Like then people will still buy these Switch games anyway, knowing they can play them on Switch 2. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting to know where Pokemon Legends Set A and Metroid Prime 4 will land in their 2025 lineup, or where they even come out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't know.
And just Taylor Plays asked, do you think we'll get a dedicated showcase for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? I think we might not necessarily, because with Tears of the Kingdom, people didn't really understand what was going on. Like, they didn't convey the message. Well, I think people understand what's going on in Echoes of Wisdom.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I also wouldn't rule it out of them showing what they similar did at the end of Tears of the Kingdom, where they showed like 10 minutes of gameplay with more commentary from Anuma or somebody else on the team.
Yeah, I'd love it, but I don't think they have to do it, but it's up to them. So.
I mean, it would be an interesting strategy for sure, outside of doing a dedicated direct for it. So.
Yeah, or perhaps. When was the last time Nintendo even had a dedicated direct for a game? Was it Xenoblade Chronicles 3? No, they had a Splatoon 3 direct, didn't they? I don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, there was a Splatoon 3 direct.
Okay, and that was like 2 years ago, almost at this point.
I
So
don't think there was. Was there another one? I don't think so.
a Metroid Prime 4 direct would be a very smart move. So Nintendo's not going to do it. That's my take on that. All right. They also had a Mario Wonder direct.
Yeah, Mario Wonder.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm just completely thinking otherwise. I don't know why I kept thinking they stopped doing game dedicated directs. But speaking of dedicated to games, let's go over some of the games that released this week. Namely, let's start with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Have we all played it here? I know Andre.
Joey always brings it at the
Joey's
worst
just-
possible times. All right. Well, I think Joey was going to comment.
And
on...
you're all still frozen for me.
Okay, we're back.
I'm
Yeah,
back now.
We're so
I
back.
We are so back, baby. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. How do we like it?
I mean,
I do not like Luigi's Mansion 2.
Oh,
All right, moving on. I'm just.
I
kidding.
mean, from what I played of it, I do like it. I like the more snippet-based structure of that game, because I can easily play a level, turn the switch off, and go do something else.
Uh-huh.
So for me, that's a perfect handheld game. Like, it's not a console game per se, but it's a good handheld game where I just play a level, turn it off, and do something else.
It's almost like it used to be a handheld game.
Yeah,
Wild to
almost.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiss My Flapjack says, I appreciate Andre's honesty. How long did you even stream the game for, Andre? That was a short stream.
Was it? I think it went for at least 3 hours. I was in the
It was about
skyscraper
3
alone.
hours.
That's a short stream compared to your other streams.
That's true. It wasn't a full day stream, like a full, like literally, like sun rises and sets stream.
Yes.
So I will say I don't hate the game, but it's a game I don't think I would ever voluntarily revisit. Just as it's the exact same problems I had originally. It's no better now. EGAD is still annoying as hell. He calls you constantly for whatever reason, like you're a complete
that's
idiot
true.
and don't know what to do. And I don't find the mission-based structure all that interesting. Like, I love the idea of having multiple mansions. I hate breaking it up into these different subcategories, submissions. It just feels like I'm doing meaningless tasks. Like, one of them has to go around like sucking up spider webs. It's so boring. And I think that's my main issue. The game is just boring. And I so much missed the gameplay of the first game, where you had like it felt almost more open and like more puzzle based, with how you had to figure out not just how to get through the mansion, but the individual room puzzles too, which I felt like was a much more compelling gimmick than this list of missions, which doesn't feel all that meaningful or impactful. And also, I just don't like the core ghost capture gameplay too. It was so good before, and now it's just like you wait for your meter to fill, you hit A, and there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like you send this game out to die when you release it right after Luigi's Mansion 3, which to me is just peak Luigi's Mansion experience, in my opinion. Just like a beautiful all-around game. Shocked me to my core when I played it. Was not expecting it to be that good. I like the first Luigi's Mansion. I didn't love it, but I also didn't grow up with it. So Yeah, just I decided last year I was finally just gonna play my 3DS copy after buying it like how many years ago, because I didn't want to wait for the HD version, and now I'm perfectly content to not play the HD version. It just doesn't look very enticing to me, and just it's a straight up downgrade from 3, so I really don't care.
But yeah, that's the only way I do enjoy playing it. I don't see it as a console game. I just purely say it as a pick up and play game, and then do something else.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I actually did have fun with the scare scraper mode. That might be the best part of this remaster. And I think I it's been so long since I played Luigi Mansion 3 Scare Scraper. I'm pretty sure I had more fun here than in that game.
Yes,
and I thought that actually is the most compelling part. If I could just buy that by itself, that'd be amazing.
Just like Metroid Prime Blast Ball back in the day.
Back in the day, those good old days.
I ruined that game at E3 by scoring right off the face-off or like the ball drop. So like I just hit it immediately and it went in. I'm like, okay, I can't play anymore.
Y'all should play Carpoon instead. But there was another game that came out today, the 20th anniversary edition of Beyond Good and Evil. This one has me curious because I've never played the original. Should I pick this game up, be it on Switch, on another platform? Andre, you streamed it too, right? For $20. Wow, that's like $40 less than Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Tell me more.
It's such a good deal for such a good game. If you like Zelda games or Zelda likes, this is one of the best Zelda likes you can find. I think in many respects it's the best Zelda of that era, from the game, GameCube, Wii type time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so fun. Compelling characters, diverse gameplay, voice acting, fun story, like a fun, actually compelling story, and the world evolves surrounding it. And it has, like a almost mini version of like the Wind Waker boat gameplay. Like I just love everything about this game. It's not super long too. Some may think that's a negative. I think it's a positive. It never overstays its welcome, and it just like mixes all the different styles of gameplay together in a way that few games do as well. Like you have photography, you have combat, you have exploration, you have puzzles, you have stealth. The stealth is really cool, and again, it's all combined with a good story, and it goes in some interesting places too that you wouldn't quite expect. I think.
Andre,
that's really cool.
I have a quick question. Weren't you at IGN when this game came out, and like people were pushing for Zelda and like as game of the year, and then people were like, no, Beyond Good and Evil's a better Zelda.
I think that was at least me. I don't remember if anyone else was vouching for it. I'm sure I made that argument at IGN that this was the best Zelda of that year. Because I think, did it launch the same year as Twilight Princess? I think it may have.
I think it came out, 20th anniversary, so do the math. 2004.
Oh, yeah, 2004. Yeah,
it was before Twilight Princess.
No, that's when Twilight Princess was announced. That's right. Yeah, so that was before. So the list must have been like, not of the year. I think it was like top games of all time, maybe. Or I forget what it was, but in any case, I know I made the argument at some point. I don't think anyone listened to me, but
well, I'll have to check it out. Does it run well on Switch? Is it 60 frames per second?
It's 30, but it runs fine. It runs fine enough. Aside from one cutscene, which really oddly runs at like 10 frames per second, the rest of the game ran completely smoothly. So
interesting. All right, so we're already an hour into this show, but there's maybe one thing we could talk about topical freeze wise. So do you guys mind it if Nintendo hides their developers? For some reason, for some very strange reason, Nintendo likes to not say who their developers are for their games more often than not. Like it took us like the day before Princess Peach Showtime came out to find out it was Goodfeel who was developing it. It was Goodfeel, right?
Yes.
All right. And now we don't know who's developing Mario and Luigi Brothership, but I think there's been leaks or rumors that who's developing this? Don, do you know?
It's not that reliable, so I don't even know it's worth reporting. Even the person who put it out there is like, it may or may not be this. So
okay, so never mind.
I don't know exactly the developer's name. I know that a bunch of the Goodfeel developers, because you can follow the strands, went to that specific developer. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're involved with it, but it would make sense to at least, because they did it with multiple remasters and remakes in the past. Literally this year, also with another code at the beginning of this year, where they went to a different developer where some of those old developers are and say hey, would you mind working on a new version of this?
I see. Oh yeah, the rumor is that it's people behind Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, but again, we don't know that for sure.
Okay,
But Steven
Yeah.
Tortillo asked Nintendo, they actually confirmed that some of the old developers are working on it, which that was different for Nintendo. They don't. They normally say like no comment.
Yeah, which would make me inclined to believe it's Ilka, because a good chunk of good field developers went there after the
Or Alpha Dream.
Alpha Dream went after the Alpha Dream closure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that Nintendo does this. It feels just so cold and corporate and purely for a marketing basis. Like the reason Nintendo does this, I'm pretty sure, is just that they don't want you to think about who's making the game. They don't want you to care about who's making the game. They only care about the brand. How is the brand? Are you excited for Mario and Luigi, the brand? You know, and I hate that. For one, I find it offensive to the team, and two, it sucks as consumers too. Like that is still knowledge for us. Like I personally generally don't like good field games, so knowing it's a good field game would probably make me not care as much about it. Potentially, I will take each game on its own, of course, but it helps inform my decision, which is why Nintendo doesn't want us to know it, and that's so shady. I hate it. I also hate this weird defense that's popped up around it that's to prevent harassment. I don't buy that for a second. This is a complete fan-made excuse for Nintendo to go about this. It's like whatever harassment is going to happen regardless, because you can't hide those credits forever.
No.
The game's going to come out. People are going to know eventually anyway. Whatever anger is there isn't just going to dissipate. And obviously, no one should harass developers for any reason. But yeah, I dislike it, and Nintendo's like one of the only ones that do this, to my knowledge. It's super weird, super Nintendo, and they should stop it.
It's that Nintendo also is very selective in how they do it, because if it's a party that they don't own, for example, with Mercury Steam, they will openly say, "Oh, it's made by Mercury Steam."
Mm-hmm. Straight up, right?
Yeah, but other times they will just say, "Oh, we won't tell you," because with Yoshi's Woolly World, they said, "Hey, yeah, Good Feel's working on this." And with Wario Land, yeah, Good Feel's working on this. But now they're like, yeah, we're not going to say anything. You already know this is a trusted partner that we have.
But how do we know that what's their name is developing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD?
It slipped up.
Because they put it in their shareholders.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because they are not owned by NCL. They got a money infusion from NCL in 2021, which nobody knew what that was for. But it turns out they're just remaking Nintendo games for them now.
I see. All right. And you can see that the reaction to that game now is so bad now they know who's developing it. So now you've all proved Nintendo's point. You're all wrong.
I mean, it's very 50-50 for me. In some instances, there's a good reason to hide the developers if, like, you consider communication-wise there will be some sort of backlash to it. But for the most part, if it's somebody that you already trust and you already put a lot of money into, I don't see a reason to just hide it.
Right.
I think it is entirely for marketing. It's almost like Nintendo treats these studios as how everyone used to, at least, maybe still treated the development company Toze, which was a studio that was made. It's a little different, but they were made with the express purpose of making games for other companies without taking any credit for it. They used to be not even found in the credits. So like the Game & Watch Gallery games were all made by them, but you would never know it until you did research into it years later. And I guess, that's a little different. Again, they were founded with that purpose, but it still sucks to those creators in general. And it sucks that Nintendo has kind of like expanded how they handle that, how they treat their own games and studios. And I don't know. I just feel like treating it as this thing that can't be known, like Voldemort's name or something, it's just so ridiculous.
To me, what also sort of bothers me in that sense is that if they work with a lot of smaller parties, not all of those parties get to say all the names listed that worked on it. Like, they put a lot of smaller companies at the end and just state the name of the company and nothing else.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in agreement too. Like, I don't know why you guys keep it a secret. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Just tell us straight out. Tom, you raised your hand.
I was just gonna say it's got to be about control and controlling messaging and marketing, and maybe just trying to brainwash everyone thinking like, oh, this is just Nintendo. It's like Nintendo making it.
Yeah.
And like, can you imagine? Let's say Snipperclips. If I didn't find out the developers of Snipperclips, I wouldn't have seen Tangle Tower or Crow Country.
Yeah.
Right.
With Devolver, they were criticized for doing this, for making every game seem like a Devolver game. And they improved greatly, like I've seen this year, in clearly saying who the developer is behind every game. It's not just a Devolver game, it's being made by so-and-so person. Like,
yes.
I thought they did a good job on that.
I think sometimes, like even in the grand conversation of these indie publishers, that's also sometimes lost. And Annapurna does this also have done this a lot, for example. But Nintendo does it on a whole different scale and very structural. And again, the smallest companies at the bottom of their credits, not even naming individual people.
Are they concerned about losing developers? Like they used to do that where they hide the names in the credits or it'd be like a pseudonym, and so to avoid poaching. But I don't know. It's just weird.
I mean, I would say poaching. Maybe poaching is a fair argument, but it's also like Nintendo has very little in terms of layover people that they have to be laid off. Like the only people that go from Nintendo are people who voluntarily step away.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah. I love this comment from the real Sean Stewart, not the fake one. Nintendo's cold corporate nature needs to change. Developers, voice actors, artists, what have you, please make them publicly known. Yeah, the voice actor issue is like industry wide. It's not just Nintendo. Like there's just voice actors in general need to be treated better. But yeah, Nintendo's gotten really. I've mentioned this in previous videos too, especially during Nintendo's always been corporate, right? But I feel like in this Switch generation, with their huge success, they've gotten even more like massively corporate. So yeah, and situations like this of just hiding game developers is really bizarre.
It's just another way of Nintendo exerting control, which is something they've tried to do. Whenever they're on top, they always seem to like try to exert, their control of whatever they can. Like in the NES era, they were infamous for their tight restrictions on developers, to the point that some developers had to make like a pseudo second studio to publish more games. And this almost kind of feels like not to the same degree, of course, but like a modern version that Nintendo can get away with. Like we only want you to think of Nintendo, as Tom was saying, and not who the talent was actually behind it. And it's just a weird thing.
Yeah,
So
it's similar, right? There's always I make a distinction between Nintendo the company and Nintendo the game developer, because as a game developer, they're great. As a company.
That's a great way of putting it. Like I have great memories of Nintendo games, and still to this day, the way they run their company kind of sucks sometimes. So, but that's to be fair in their defense, that is almost any public company. They're all going to do crappy things now and then because they think that's best for the business.
I was gonna say, sadly, it's all kind of started after Iwata passed away.
Right.
Iwata was a game developer first, perhaps, while the new Nintendo president was an accountant at the start. So
that's right.
That's business.
It's a good point. That is it'll be interesting to see, just in a general sense, how Nintendo continues to evolve from this point. Especially because now, as we enter with the Switch 2, this will be the first entirely new platform, really, without any influence from Iwata directly. So it'll just be interesting to see just what happens,
Yeah, seriously, I'm just worried that Nintendo's just only going to make more powerful Switches until the end of time, because we know how that works out for the other companies, just making more powerful versions of the same console over and over again. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from here. Besides that, like I don't know what else there is to do.
What I
VR,
need
that's bombing.
Switch, I need them to finally make a good eShop again.
Yes, please,
Good
God.
Music.
Yes, it doesn't even need to have music. It just needs to be functional and not boring looking.
I also need to. It doesn't need to load every 10 seconds.
That's what I do. Just load.
Yeah,
just let me scroll without the frame rate dying.
Products. That's why I use Steam so much. It's instant. I get instant gratification.
Yeah.
Honestly, Nintendo really should have a better app for the computer. Like if you had a way of accessing your Switch stuff easily from the computer, I'd probably look through their games more. But because the eShop sucks so freaking much, I almost never go on it. So
yeah, it's
I have to really want a game.
It's really bad. But I think we're at the end here of this pipeline episode, but we got a few shout outs, namely some anniversaries. Somebody in the comments brought this up, that Super Mario Maker 2 has turned 5 years old today, which whoa, where did the time go? That's on
crazy,
that?
Yeah,
that is crazy. Yeah,
I mean, we're giving it more promotion than Nintendo ever did in the last 3 years.
Oh my god, I can't wait for those new themes with an S. Just not the themes, the styles or whatever.
Styles,
yeah. Just oh my god.
You got folders. Don't be greedy.
All right, but Shovel Knight has turned 10 years old as well. Was it today, Tom, or just this week?
On the 26th. They had this. Yacht Club did a 10:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. stream, beating all the Shovel Knight games.
Nice. There's more than one Shovel Knight game. I'm just gonna,
Wow, it's for the first one, but yeah. Well, I guess
I'm being a certified hater. It's fine. Yeah, but those are the shout outs. Thank you all so much for watching this week's episode of The Pipeline. Stay tuned next week. We'll be discussing next week's news. Hopefully it'll be a good news week. But until next time, bye everyone. Tom's